Welcome to every movie I've ever seen. Today, the movie we're going to be talking about is Jurassic Park. This is, of course, the 1993 Steven Spielberg film based on the novel by Michael Crichton. I'm joined today by Richard Rich. That is his real name.
Yo,
Richard, have you read the Jurassic Park book?
I have. Have you?
I have, a while ago.
I love that book. It's on my bookshelf upstairs right now. I love it. I
It's
love it more than the movie.
it's a very technical book. It's a hard read. I'll say.
Yeah, that's fair. But I mean, I don't know.
It's like graphs
Science
and.
school. I'm a smarty pants, so I.
Um, did you say you graduated high school? You're a
No, I
smarty.
said I went to science school.
Oh, okay. Like I graduated high school. I'm a
Yeah,
smarty
well,
pants. I graduated high school.
hey, well, not everyone has. Okay, so, but
It's
I like it a lot. I in college took some classes in paleontology and also obviously ecology and stuff because that's what I do. But it's a really good. Um, Obviously, it's science fiction, but like a lot of the stuff that it hits on, it fits right. So I enjoy it.
there was this one moment in the book that always stuck out with me for some reason, and
Which is what?
you know the small ankle biter dinosaurs like the Compy whatever
Yeah,
Companagus.
Compsognathus.
There you go. I just call them compies because that's what the
Uh-huh.
kid in Jurassic Park 3 called them. He calls them compies. So I just call them
I,
compies.
yeah, I remember.
Because they have like a cameo in that movie for some reason. They're not even in the Jurassic Park 3
Yeah, they're
itself.
like they're like a big part of the book, and then they weren't in the movie, but when they made the second movie, they
Yeah.
included them, and then the third one, I guess they just I don't know, they're like in one scene.
So I remember in the book there's this thing where they're trying to see how many compies there are on the island because they think that maybe the dinosaurs are trying to reproduce. And they're like, no, go to the computer. The computer says there's 59. There's only supposed to be 59. And then eventually they find out that the way the computer is programmed, it's like only programmed to check to see if dinosaurs are missing. So it's only checking to see it's only counting to 59. So once it hits
Right,
59, it stops counting. So they're like, okay, let's
right,
reprogram it. And they're like, and then they reprogram the computer to see how many dinosaurs there really are. There's like 120 dinosaurs. Like, oh shit! I
yeah,
don't know.
I do remember that.
I would have maybe that could have been like a deleted scene because I don't know if it would have worked anywhere in the movie, but it
Yeah,
potentially would have
probably
been
not. I mean,
it would have
I
been
think
like a
the scene
cool.
where he goes into that tree root and sees the eggs and the footprints. I mean, people get it at
Yeah,
that point.
it could have potentially been a cool like oh shit moment. I imagine
That's true.
like a close up of the computer when it's like the three dots on like calculating like
Yeah.
275 like whoa.
Yeah, well, that almost sounds like Aliens or something. I feel like in Aliens, there's a scene where they're using that little radar thing, and they just have like they think there's one alien or whatever, and then all of a sudden there's bleeps everywhere, and there's like actually 100 bajillion of them. It sounds kind of like one of those where they'd be like, "Oh yeah, there's only however," or actually, you haven't seen the show Chernobyl yet, which
Ah,
you really should because it's really good. But there's a
I've seen
part
a little.
of the big things they have those I forget what they're called, but like the Geiger counter radio uh, thing that it does the static noises and it measures how radioactive an area is. They only go to like 3 units of whatever they're measuring or something like that. So people keep like measuring the after the explosion, and then somebody will ask like, "What's the count?" And they'll be like, "Oh, it measures 3." And the people will be like, "Oh, well, that's not great, but that's not awful. Like we can live through that." But the machines only go to 3, so it's like really in like 3 billion, but it just stops because yeah,
So wait, it's they just know it's 3 but they don't know what it could be like 300 or
it
3000.
could be like 3 billion, but it stops at 3, and they only care like, oh, it says 3, so we're good.
I feel like in that scenario I wouldn't be saying that's good because that's like worst
It's
case
maxing out the machine.
yeah, that's worst case scenario. Like best case scenario it's like 3. It could be 30. It could be, you know,
Exactly. Yeah, so
and
that was a big contentious part. People weren't, yeah. They weren't thinking too hard about that.
3 is already not as good as 2 or 1, you know?
Right.
I don't know. And it seems like a very flawed way to measure radiation. It's like, it's
Yeah,
3.
well, I mean, the
3
machines
what?
should be able to go up much higher, but the Soviet Union only bought the ones that go up to 3 because they're like,
Well,
nothing will go wrong.
but
So,
still, even if it like went to 10, it could still
yeah.
be, well, it could be 10, could be 10,000. Let's see. Like, I
Yeah.
want to actually know. It's like,
I want it to read up to 10,000 or whatever.
like,
Yeah.
what are you reading? 3? 3 what? 3?
3.
3? Units?
I totally
Units of
forgot
what?
about that in Jurassic Park, though, until you brought that up. I remember that now, but yeah, that's fine.
3 what? Units. Units of what? Units of stress. Oh shit.
What do I do with my feet? Yeah.
I'm actually surprised that I'm talking about this movie so early in me doing this, because this is my favorite movie of all time.
Yeah,
I've
I
ever seen.
figured. Well, yeah, I really like the movie. Believe it or not, I really like the second one too. I really like dinosaurs. I really like paleontology. I really like.
You loved Jurassic World, right?
I'm not gonna go there. I haven't even seen the second. They made a second one. Have you seen it?
Yeah. It wasn't that bad. You know, it's weird that like the Jurassic World sequels, in my opinion, are doing so much better than the Star Wars sequels.
I mean, I think they're both trash, so I can't.
I am way more hyped for Jurassic World 3 because it's bringing back these 3 guys from this movie, like Sam Neill, Jeff Goldblum, Laura Dern.
Is it really? Oh,
Yeah.
God.
I'm way more hyped for Jurassic World 3 than I was for Star Wars Episode 9, Rise of Skywalker. Like, I'm way
I'll
more
give
hyped.
you that. I mean, I don't care about either. I hated Jurassic World. I didn't bother seeing the second one, and I'm probably not going to see the third one. But the same is true for the Star Wars sequels. So, I mean,
I don't know.
I
feel
would
like
believe you that they're probably a little bit more worth hype. But I hated Jurassic World. I thought it was trash.
I think that could be something worth talking about at some point, comparing the Star Wars sequels to the Jurassic Park sequels.
That's fair.
You could like
They're always sort of like they're sort of different animals. Yeah. The Star Wars ones, it's sort of a. Well, that's pretty apt. I guess.
if you compare Jurassic World to Force Awakens, like they're both soft reboots.
Yeah,
But then I think it's more interesting when you compare Jurassic World 2 to The Last Jedi.
because that's when they can start to do their own. The first one is just a rehash of the
Yeah.
original, but
And
then they can start going off in
and
their own way.
it's like with Jurassic World, it's like now we can make with Jurassic World 2, it's like now we can make the movie we really want to make. Like do the things we really want to do. And it's like it's really like 2 different movies. But we need to talk about Jurassic Park. We need to talk about Jurassic Park.
Talk about Jurassic Park, the good one,
Yes, the best.
the best one, obviously.
Did you see this in 2013 when it came back for the 3D re-release?
I don't think so. I tend not to pay money to see a movie I've already seen. But
Look at me, I'm Richard. I graduated college.
it's possible I did. I mean, 2013. No, probably not.
It was really good.
Oh, you know what? Actually, I think I did. Actually, I take that back. I think I did go because that is like if ever I was to see a movie in theaters.
I mean, I thought it was a great experience for me. I mean, seeing it in 3D, and that really helps in 3D because it's more just like depth perception. Because when a movie is made for 3D, it's like, oh, I'm pointing at the screen, 3D. We got to go over there. That sucks.
Yeah.
But when you have when you have a movie and it's not filmed for 3D and then they make it 3D, it just kind of looks better in parts. Like there's the scene where they're driving in the Jeep and the Jeep goes under under the gate, not the gate, the the doors that opens up, like what do they got in there? King Kong.
Yeah.
And when
And
you see
oh, I know the scene you're talking about. Yeah.
like it goes over the gate, and you see that scene looked so good in 3D. I
I
was just
believe
blown
it.
away by that. It was like,
I
wow.
I believe it. I don't really love 3D. Technology's definitely come a long way, but I still get kind of motion sick. I don't know. It's my brain has a hard time getting used to the glasses, maybe. But I tend not to be able to like as cool as the effect might be. Everything is a little less clear for me, and I can't really
Hmm.
focus on anything as much. So I don't really like it as much. But I will say, when I saw Avatar in 3D, which was a movie made for 3D, but it did more of the thing you're talking about, where it was really just like a depth perception thing, and that made the rainforest look way bigger and stuff. And that was neat. I'll give it to you. That was a different experience than seeing it in 2D. And I bet Jurassic Park would be similar.
Yeah.
There's a lot of, I think movies where scale is important.
Right.
That has a good effect there. And that Jurassic Park is a prime example where this obviously talking about dinosaurs, the scale of things, and like some of the shots, from ground level looking up at the brachiosaur or stuff like that, probably would look pretty sweet.
I think the great thing about Jurassic Park is it's really a monster movie, and that's what I think some people don't realize. Is especially like because I just recently saw Jaws in theaters,
Uh
and
huh.
they're both just monster movies. You can look at the Velociraptor as the main monster in that movie because they tease the Velociraptor in the beginning with that scene of the guy in the shoot her, and
Yeah.
you don't see the Velociraptor,
They
and they're
tease them
constantly
again when they're feeding them the cattle.
and Alan Grant's first scene is talking about like how badass the Velociraptor was when he's like scaring the piss out of that one kid.
Yeah.
So you're just like constantly teasing the Velociraptor, and you got Robert Muldoon character. He's like you should just kill them all. And I don't know. It's a
Yeah, no, that's a good. Yeah, absolutely. The thing is, like, it's a monster movie for sure, but I think typically you got to be careful when you throw around the term monster movie. I think because there's a lot of movies that fit that, or at least people think of a certain type of movie that doesn't necessarily breach the same quality
right.
as Jurassic Park. Um, case in point, when you say monster movie and people think of like Godzilla versus Megalon, which is like
That's
from
true.
1960, and whatever. Not a great film, but yeah, you're right. I mean, it is a monster movie. Um,
I just think I just think almost more like modern monster movie, especially because Spielberg started the whole thing with Jaws. The whole trend of not showing your monster as much, which he only did in Jaws by like accident because the shark wasn't working. So he tried to show it as
right.
little as possible.
Yeah. Well, and it's effective though. I mean, I think the human imagination is stronger than any prop
True.
or
And
CGI.
it's not like you don't know what a shark looks like.
Yeah, true.
I wonder what it is.
But also, just giving an image to something makes it less scary. It's the whole thing. Like, yeah, it's the whole point in Harry Potter when they're like, everyone's like, "Don't say his name," but Harry's like, "I'm gonna call him Voldemort because that's his name." You give somebody a name, they're less threatening. You give something an image, way less scary. Like a dark hallway with a silhouette in the end is a lot scarier than a dark hallway with a zombie in it that you can see. To me, anyway, because
I
it's
don't
like,
know. Harry's kind of a jerk. I mean, these people are like scared shitless every time he says that name. He's triggering their PTSD over
yeah, I
there.
mean, it's essentially a swear word, and he's going around saying it. Well,
You can't say the F word, Harry. Fuck you. I say what I want.
yeah.
You can't say that. I'm Harry
I
Potter.
will
I can do what
say,
the hell I want.
I do. Yeah, I mean, he's got magic, and or like he's immune to murder, so I think he can do whatever he wants. But Jurassic Park, anyway. Back to that. I will say, as great as a movie as it is, and I think it is a great movie. Everyone has to at some point acknowledge the fact that, as far as like science and paleontology goes, it's not you know accurate or even close to it.
Well, I think they kind of addressed that in Jurassic World a little bit, where they
Yeah,
talk
but I
about the
hated that.
Well, they talk about like, well, we don't have feathers because we're using so much frog DNA. So that's why they look more lizard than bird because
Yeah, I get that, but here's my problem with that scene. I know the scene you're talking about. I remember it vividly, and I had a problem with it. And this is it.
oh great.
They're taught so like a little bit of background first. Jurassic Park 1 comes out. When it comes out, they're consulting this guy Jack Horner, who is a like world famous paleontologist. He's sort of a controversial figure at some points, but he's like definitely a really famous paleontologist. He's working on the movie. He's sort of who the character of Alan Grant is based off of. Big deal. And he's consulting the movie, and he tells them, like nowadays we think most of these dinosaurs probably had feathers, but they were like, we're not going to do that. And at that point, it was like sort of like they knew they had feathers, but it wasn't like that big a deal to show them yet because it wasn't like everywhere. And then they knew that the Velociraptor is not what they Velociraptor is like the size of a turkey and lives in Mongolia. It's not in Montana. It's not 6 feet tall. There are raptors that are 6 feet tall and live in Mongolia. They're called Utah Raptor and Dakota Raptor, but those didn't sound as good to Steven Spielberg, I guess. Or Michael Crichton, maybe. Maybe he was the one who did that. But anyway, so you can sort of give them a pass because the rest of the movie shows them pretty accurately. They're on, they're warm-blooded, they're moving quick, they're looking and sounding like birds, so that's good enough. But then Jurassic World comes out, and they have that scene, and the guy's like, "You think this is what dinosaurs actually look like?" Like, of course not. The dinosaurs, of course, they had feathers. Like, these guys don't have feathers because we put frog DNA in them because that's what people want to see. And I thought, well, like, just by dialogue, that sounds great, and I appreciate the sentiment, except for the fact that if they had made a bigger deal of that, then they could have made the point of the movie kind of similar to the point of the first movie, which is like, people are going to pay for a whole commercialism thing. It ruins nature and everything. This isn't natural. This isn't natural. This is something that we created because people are going to pay for it, kind of thing. But instead, it's like one line, and they only throw that in there because they know they're going to get complaints that their dinosaurs don't look accurate anymore. And now is like, we know so much more about dinosaurs. So as little accurate as they were in the first one, they were still kind of close. But now we know so much more that it's like the dinosaurs in this one are like so far removed from.
I like to think of it as maybe it is just like a commercial thing. I mean, maybe the dinosaurs, how they look in Jurassic Park and Jurassic World, would just sell better. Like people would rather see that than some like weird bird thing. I mean,
they do, and
maybe there's like,
but that's lame.
Well, I mean, if they're running a business, I mean, they gotta. I mean, maybe they made some like bird-looking dinosaur, and no one came to saw that because that looked weird as hell. Like, ew, I don't want to see that.
But see, my argument though is just if you're making the movie, like there have been lots of movies now or lots of shows that we all know what dinosaurs look like. We've all seen Jurassic Park. We know what dinosaurs quote look like. Or what we thought they looked like. Now you have the chance to make a movie with modern interpretations of dinosaurs, and because it's a new park and like a new system anyway, they don't really have to look like the dinosaurs from the first movie anyway, because they could just say, "Oh, we were totally revamped them," like, whatever. They could have made the dinosaurs a lot more accurate and look like dinosaurs, and people would have. I think people would have their minds blown because nobody's seen a good representation of a raptor that looks like a killer turkey and stuff like that.
And honestly,
for whatever reason, people think that sounds lame. And you tell them dinosaurs had feathers, and they go, "Well, that sounds stupid. They're just giant chickens."
That sounds stupid.
Actually looked at a bird, knows that like birds are awesome and scary too. So like, it's still 12 feet tall and has daggers for teeth. I don't think it's going to lose its monster quality because it's got a different skin.
But when you think dinosaur, what image comes in your head? Does like the common Jurassic Park image come to your head? Because there have been dinosaur ever since Jurassic Park. Whenever you see a dinosaur in a movie, it looks more like the Jurassic Park dinosaur than a real life dinosaur, like King Kong in 2000 whatever, Peter Jackson one.
And I'll give them some credit. Some of the dinosaurs in Jurassic Park are still pretty accurate. The T-Rex in Jurassic Park is still pretty good.
What about like the herbivores?
T-Rex had feathers. Some people think he didn't. We have more science to prove that it didn't have feathers than it did at this point. So Jurassic Park is kind of accurate there. I would say That's a tough question for me to answer because, like I said, I took some classes in paleontology, and I'm an ornithology person, which is birds, like career wise. And birds
Right.
technically are dinosaurs, so I don't have a one single image that I think of when I think of dinosaur.
What about the herbivores? How accurate were the herbivores, like the Triceratops and the Stegosaurus? And
Uh, not well. See, here's the thing. In the first movie, which is the one we're really talking about, the
yeah,
only herbivores you really even see are the Brachiosaurus and the Triceratops, and then some guys
Gallimimus,
way in the background, right?
and some Gallimimus.
Oh, and the Gallimimus. That's right. So the Gallimimus would definitely have feathers. Well, not definitely, but like pretty sure have feathers, and otherwise, oh, and their hands were wrong in the movie. But
uh,
otherwise, they're big. They run on two legs. They're probably fast. They're probably in herds. That was generally accurate. The Brachiosaurus, once again, probably generally accurate. I mean, there's obviously some nitpicky stuff, but in general, that was like not bad. It showed them standing up on its two back legs. We don't really know if they ever were like doing that or even capable of doing that, but you can just kind of assume, yeah, probably. Um, the Triceratops, though, so we have skin impressions of Triceratops now. So we know that the scales on the Triceratops are really funky and sort of like nipple shaped in many places, which is indicative either of just weird pointy scales, or it had either feathers or quills, like a porcupine, basically. So Triceratops probably was covered in something beyond just smooth scales.
right.
That frill was most likely there for the same reason that like a peacock has a tail or anything like that. It's a display structure for mating, which means it would probably be pretty colorful. The
Right.
Triceratops we see in the movie is entirely just mud brown, and I mean dinosaurs are more closely related to birds than anything else. And there are not many birds that are just like, you know, well, there's a lot of birds of all types, but birds are very visual.
Right.
They have mating structures. Their mating structures aren't going to just be brown. They're probably going to be covered in polka dots or something nuts.
What about Jurassic Park? Now, Jurassic Park 3 tries to go a little bit more into the Velociraptor, talking about like their vocal cord or whatever it's
Yes,
called. And they do
believe
have
it or
they do
not,
have a little bit of feathers. They have a
as
little feathers.
crazy as that vocal thing is in the movie, that's actually not far off from science. That once again, they had Jack Horner working on the movie with them, and he and other people as well, his teams and stuff, have discovered similar structures in other dinosaurs. We don't have anything like that for Velociraptor, or indeed maybe for any raptors, or even maybe meat eaters, but certainly in many herbivores, we have found structures that like could sort of give us vague ideas of voices. The feathers were stupid, because they were like acknowledging it, but they weren't really. So that was dumb.
Now,
Dumb.
what about now? What in Jurassic World? What about the Indominus Rex? How accurate was that?
Oh my god! Don't even get me started. Okay, here we go. So
Moving on. Moving on.
no, just one thing. The,
You, you,
the premise of that dinosaur is that they just like threw DNA at the wall until something stuck, and they gave it like they gave it T-Rex, they gave it Velociraptor, they gave it cuttlefish, they probably I think they gave it like human. I think they may have said I don't know, but um, they were just like throwing stuff in there, which is in the movie a way to say like we're irresponsible, but making the movie it's a way to just make your dinosaur do whatever you want, and it was like so it was covered in quills, which is kind of cool because there probably were dinosaurs that did that. Like I said with Triceratops, that's neat. But otherwise, just because they gave it cuttlefish DNA, it could all of a sudden camouflage itself like the predator. And then they gave it velociraptor DNA, and for whatever reason, because it was like 1/3 velociraptor, it could talk to the other velociraptors in whatever velociraptor language must exist for this to even be possible. And that was the stupidest thing I've ever seen, because when you think about it, we're 32% banana. We share 32% of our DNA with bananas. We share 99% of our DNA with chimpanzees. That 1% of DNA makes a huge difference. So just because that dinosaur is like a velociraptor grandparent doesn't mean that it's going to be able to speak to them in some instinctual language and they're just going to automatically follow it. It's clearly not a velociraptor. I mean,
So what you're saying is, if bananas could talk, we would be able to talk with them. Is what you're saying.
if we lived in a world that followed the same logic as Jurassic World, yes, we would be able to talk to bananas. We should be able to talk to gorillas.
So who's your favorite character in the first Jurassic Park?
That's a good question. It's got to be down to Alan Grant or Ian Malcolm.
It's true.
Right? Those are kind of the powerhouse. And maybe John Hammond a bit. But
and Muldoon, Muldoon's
that's
that like
fair.
badass hunter.
And Laura Dern's character, Sattler, she's actually underrated. She's actually really good. That whole cast is great.
It is Sam Jackson.
Yeah, I forgot about him. Yeah, that's true. Dennis Nedry or Neary, his last name is. That's that's a powerhouse group.
Oh, you know,
I have a favorite.
You know who they're bringing back in Jurassic World Part 3? Dobson.
Why?
I don't know. I mean, just because like he's a rival, business guy. But I think it's not the same actor. It's just the character. I think the actor is either in jail or dead. So they're not bringing. It's one of those two. I don't remember. So they're not bringing the actor back.
Fair enough.
But they are bringing him back because like you rival.
Yeah, we have to have him. He was crucial.
Rival business companies, but there are a lot of really good characters. B.D. Wong, Dr. Wu, who's apparently evil and crazy. Well,
he kind of was in the book, right? I mean, I don't exactly remember what his deal was in the book, but I'm pretty sure his character was a lot bigger. Yeah. Like he was like a major player in the book, and I'm pretty sure he was like not a cool guy. Like he was pushing for. As much as Hammond is in the movie, he in the book was like pushing for not like he was very irresponsible, I think.
Because you get to Jurassic World and Jurassic World 2 and Dr. Wu's like the villain of those movies. He's like creating these.
That's honestly
monsters.
Closer to the book.
It's just, I guess, from a movie perspective, it's an odd switch. Like this guy, you remember this random background guy who's in a couple scenes? He's the villain now.
Yeah, exactly. That is a weird. Well, that's a symptom of that entire Jurassic World group, though. They're trying to find these tiny bits that they can just grab and hold on to for nostalgia and hope that somebody's going to be like, "Hey, I remember that."
What about the kids? What about the kids? I'm surprised they haven't gotten back to the kids yet.
I'm also surprised.
I mean, they can't be doing anything.
No, they're probably in prison.
I mean, Tim, he was in G.I. Joe 2.
Was he really?
Yeah, he played like the sniper kid, and then he died in the beginning because like they kill off a whole bunch of G.I. Joes in the beginning of G.I. Joe 2, and he dies.
Sure, naturally. Huh. Yeah, I wonder what they're up to nowadays.
But favorite scene, Jurassic Park.
Ooh. I think there's a lot of good ones. I think, obviously, the scene with the brachiosaur in the beginning, when they first introduce you to the park, there's nothing quite so like...
what about the dinner conversation?
The dinner conversation is probably like my favorite part, honestly. The scene where they're first eating and they're like just got to the park and they're eating their sea bass or whatever.
Yeah, that's
and they're all that like perfectly encapsulates the point of the movie, and that's actually one of the top scenes. Obviously, the scene with the T-Rex attacking the Jeep is also sort of a masterpiece.
And because they're just talking about like the ethics of it all and everything, and then Hammond has a great line where he's talking about he like points to Laura Dern and Sam Neill, and he goes, I brought you here to protect me from these characters, and the only person on my side is the blood-sucking warrior. And then the warrior just goes, thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, he's great. Yeah. Also, maybe like, have you ever noticed And the first scene you see that lawyer when he's like on the raft and they pull him in and wherever they are in South America and at the amber mine, um, he stands really funny.
It felt that scene felt very Indiana Jones.
It did feel very Indiana Jones, and I think that was probably the.
This is after. Oh yeah, this is definitely after Indiana Jones. Never mind. That was a silly question.
It was definitely after Indiana Jones, and it was probably intentional. But if you watch him, like when they're, it takes like he's on that raft being pulled in for a good like while, longer than you'd think the shot would last, and he stands really funny. Like his legs are way too far apart, and he's like just stiff as a board.
That's
That's always stuck with me.
It's probably intentional because that
He's not. I can't look away from him.
that character is he's not comfortable with that situation, and
Clearly,
it's probably completely intentional.
no, I'm sure it is.
Standing
Good
weird.
on the actor for. I mean, he had even his posture down. It was good. But I always notice it.
And the music is great in this.
How can we not talk about the great
One of the
Williams?
one of John Williams' best scores, I think.
Oh, I think so. Yeah.
I mean,
So I think there are few people who would disagree. Honestly, everyone thinks of Star Wars. It's good, but
CGI holds up.
Jurassic Park and Close Encounters of the Third Kind are probably his best movie scores
Did he do
that
E.T.?
I can think of. Yeah.
He did E.T.?
Yes, he did.
Hmm.
He did a lot. Basically, I feel like anything Spielberg's done.
I always forget he did Harry Potter. He did the early Harry Potter.
He did Harry Potter. He did Jaws. He did Close Encounters. He did E.T. He did Home Alone. He did Jurassic Park and Star Wars. He did
Home Alone was good.
Lunch. And he's done a lot of other like sort of more modern stuff. Like I think he did War Horse, which is not a great movie, but Memoirs of a Geisha, Amistad. There's a big one that I'm forgetting.
And
Superman.
does it ever surprise you how well the CGI holds up compared to today?
Easily. I was like, it's shocking to me. I think the CGI in the first Jurassic Park is better than the CGI in Jurassic World.
And honestly, I watched that movie in the big screen, and the CGI looked better than the practical effects. Because they had a practical head for the T-Rex, and when they have the practical head, I'm like, that looks fake. And you get the CGI, like, wow, there's a T-Rex, real T-Rex there. They did so much.
I don't really agree with you there.
Well, I mean, I just think
practical effects look way better to me.
I don't know. I saw the practical effects, and I could see that it was a practical effect. And like that moment with the Velociraptor, when you see like the GT, what is it, the DNA
GTTGA, the DNA sequence.
That was great. Great movie. One of my favorite movie of all time.
Oh, it's excellent. It's so good. And you can, as inaccurate as the science may have been, you can also say like it really did change it changed the way we think of dinosaurs. It changed the way we think of like monster movies. Mm-hmm. It changed the way we think of honestly like science fiction, I would say, in general. I mean,
and like after seeing Jaws, it almost seemed like everything Spielberg did with Jaws like helped a lot for Jurassic Park, because Jaws is one of the first modern monster movies. It's like Jaws was the first real summer blockbuster, and I feel like Jaws helped so much for Jurassic Park to.
Yeah, I feel like everything that Jaws did, Jurassic Park did a little bit better.
And yeah, which is crazy.
Maybe not everything, but a lot of things. So yeah. Certainly, as far as the monster parts of it go.
So, yeah, I guess we should maybe start wrapping up a little bit here.
Alrighty, if you insist. It is a good one.
It's one of my favorites. I grew up with this movie, this and the Star Wars movies, and then as I got older, I looked at the Star Wars movies and they didn't look as good, and then I looked at Jurassic Park and it looked a little better. But
the Jurassic Park, I think I grew up. Yeah, I think they were one of the Jurassic Park was probably one of the first like major movies I'd seen. Like I saw way too young. I was way too young to have seen it when I saw it, honestly, because like it all went right over my head, and I just watched it for the dinosaurs.
You just think like dinosaurs. Ooh, there's a giant poop. Funny. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And then I go back and I go, oh, this is actually a good movie. But yeah, I grew up with them too, for sure. Excellent. And like I said, I still like the sequel. Yeah, it has its flaws.
I like 3 more than 2.
Oh, how is that possible? How could you possibly like the third Jurassic Park more? That doesn't
Billy.
make sense.
Billy's great. You don't like Billy?
I
Alessandro Nivola?
I only like Billy because his name is Billy, and they say it like
Pollux Troy in Face Off.
I like William H. Macy.
One of the greatest names in cinema history, Pollux Troy from Face Off.
Pollux Troy.
Yeah. Younger brother of Castor Troy, Nick Cage's character. Face Off.
Wow.
Hitting you with that Face Off knowledge.
Yeah, you're surprising me with your Face Off trivia. I can't believe you like the third. The third one's awful.
I think we'll have to talk about the third one later, but I think that's it for Jurassic Park. Thanks for listening, guys, and thanks for coming on the show, Richard.
Yeah, no problem.